Alright, my son, so let's discuss something. I was telling you about the Indians, the native people of the United States, and how oil was discovered in the Indian reservations, right? So, whenever a law is made, there are some ways to go around it. Right?
Yeah.
At least with the gambling casinos that were not permitted in Florida, then they found out that the cruise ships could just go 3 miles and people could go gamble. Or if they didn't want to get on a ship, which it got cold, if you went on the deck, then they could go to the Indian reservations.
And where is that?
Some of them are right in the middle of a town. There was one in, was it Broward or Miami-Dade County, right in between the both of them. And I went to apply for work. The first thing I did before I opened the door, I noticed that there were clouds inside the building.
What?
On the first floor. And
there was no roof.
No, there was a roof. In my brain, I said, how can there be a cloud inside the building? So I opened the door and I applied for work. That was my intention. But I walked in and it was so much smoke from cigarettes that I kept on walking until I got out at another door.
Why not just go back to the door you came from?
Because I said I must apply for work. But I don't want to work in a casino full of cigarettes.
But then, how were the clouds?
There were not clouds. No, they were not painted clouds. There was so much smoke from people smoking that I was 20 or something. No, 22 maybe. No, 20. Must have been about 20. 21. And then when I opened the other door, a man says, come right here and give us a donation of blood. And I felt so dizzy from going in there that I said, well, I'll do this one time in my life. And I donated blood. The lady that was there, when she took out the blood, she said, you have the reddest blood? Then I told my Tai Chi classmates, and they said, oh, it's because you are a young man. But I don't give blood anymore.
It hurt?
Well, all right, I'll tell the world right now how I don't like needles. When I was about 4 or 3 or 5 years old, 2 men held me down. Maybe it was 3. 2 grabbed my arms and 2 grabbed my legs. And then the third one
put a needle somewhere.
Put a needle on my buttocks.
Oh.
You remember that?
Yeah.
How? You were not born.
You told me, no?
Oh, that story, yes. I also held you down. Do you remember that one? I held you down when you got one in your arm.
Yeah, that hurt.
You remember?
Wait, for what?
You got a needle when you were about 3 years old.
No, I was thinking of another one.
You threw a tantrum. The lady said, well, she heard me speak to you. I said, son, if you don't want to do it today, I'll come back another day. And then she said, I just prepared $180 needle shot or shot.
On her?
No, so she could put it on you.
No, but she paid for that?
No, she said, I just prepared it. Whoever pays it, Medicaid, whoever does it for little kids in the United States. She said, it's $180 this shot to put it on you.
One little drop or a few drops of liquid is $180.
And I was going to say, and I had just said, and she said, you don't mean you're going to have him come back when he feels like it?
Me, I'm never coming back.
And so I held you down and you got the shot. Oh.
What?
It's tough to hold you down, son. It's tough to... Number one, I don't like needles. I would have preferred to take it than you, though. But at that time, I believed you needed it.
What was it for anyway?
I don't know.
Flu?
No, the needle was for...
Don't get sick?
They give shots to little kids.
Oh, by the way, now,
Mm-hmm.
there was this, before school, like a week before school, 2 weeks maybe,
Mm-hmm.
there was a flu shot that Maya and I needed.
You didn't need it.
Yeah, we didn't need it, but that it was optional according to the doctors.
Yes.
And Mom was like, no,
If it's optional,
we
you
don't need it.
Also, you've heard of polio? Alright. When I lived in Miami, there was a man with a skinny arm. He was maybe 60 years old. I never asked him, but we used to talk every day. A whole bunch of them. They were senior citizens. And I believe he had polio.
What's polio?
It makes your legs or your arms skinny, like just to the bone size. But he only had one arm, but I think that it only affects maybe part of the body. He had both arms, but only one of them was like this. And I never asked him.
Was it his right or left?
I don't remember which it was. And so, polio has been taken away from the diseases of modern humans.
Why?
If you take the polio vaccine.
Did I take it?
I don't know. You have your shot record. You could look up. All of us parents and children should learn about these shot records. Like, did you get the measles shot? Did you get the chicken pox? And
Maya said there's like 2 types of shots.
mm-hmm.
One that really, really hurts,
Mm-hmm.
and one that really doesn't hurt as much.
Very well.
There's 2 different names, but so far, Maya's had... One time Maya needed 2 of the really hurt ones.
I see.
But since it was already on one arm, it had to be on the other arm.
I see.
Oh.
I did hear about a nurse in Honduras. She was a friend, my mom's age, in Miami, and she mentioned how one time she met a man that he had muscles.
Yeah. Steroids?
The needle broke.
Seriously?
She said the needle broke.
Did
And
it
he
hurt
said,
him?
do it again with a hammer.
He's crazy.
Well, some of these men are that way. But how can you be so strong that a needle breaks?
Did it cut him?
I don't know. Maybe something was wrong with that particular needle, you know? Alright, so...
Was he really huge or...
I wasn't there.
Oh.
And she told us a story about how her mom had survived a shipwreck. The ship sank.
The Titanic.
The mom grabbed onto
Piece
a
of
piece of wood or something that was floating. And whenever somebody came near to grab onto that same piece of wood,
pushed.
she punched that person.
Why? Because
The wood wouldn't be enough.
What
And that's how her mother had survived.
about sharks? What if she accidentally cut herself with the splinter?
I don't know.
Oh, it is lost.
And that her mother, in some way, without being a nurse, had also learned about medicine. Because back then, men used to fight with machetes. And the mother told one of them, don't do it. Don't go out there and fight with machetes. You know, a group of men here and a group of men there. And
He did it.
no, she said that half an hour later, one of them was coming with his fingers hanging off. Doña Toya, whatever her name was, help. And she had to cut off the rest of his fingers with a machete and just bandage him.
Both his hands?
No, the machete hand most likely. Because you know when you hit me with a machete and I hit you with a machete, if you hit my fingers, then
It's lost.
so it would have been better not to.
Did you knock him out first? Like,
No. But another friend told me about Venezuela, and he told me that, and he was younger. He was 20 something. This was 20 years ago. He told me how in Venezuela, if you get shot or you need to go to the doctor because you've been stabbed or something, don't go to the hospital.
why?
Go directly to wherever the doctor is. Because at the hospital, you just bleed until you die there.
Why?
Because in the United States, we have hospitals that have bandages, they have electricity, they have doctors. But over there, some of these things are missing. Even one uncle that was a doctor in Honduras told me how he was waiting for the baby to be born. He delivered babies. And how... What? Okay, I'll stop in a moment. And so, when he was waiting for the baby to be born, he went to ask questions because the ambulance had not arrived yet with the woman.
The baby was already born.
So he was... What was it? No, the lady must have been there because the husband was there. The lady must have been there, but they needed the ambulance for some reason.
So you're bleeding too much?
No, nothing complicated, just that they were waiting for probably the guy that gives anesthesia. They were waiting for an ambulance, he told me.
Anesthesia.
Anesthesia is a shot that you get, or a gas that goes over your nose and you fall asleep and then the doctors operate.
That's what I was saying. That thing for to cut off the fingers.
Alright, knock on your neighbor and tell him to... Does your neighbor in Honduras would have that? Unless they're a doctor, they don't. You see?
Just get a little... Yeah, that is true.
I remember walking with my uncle in the hospital and there was no electricity. I mean, there was, but it was like so little. You know, I'm accustomed to the hospitals here where they're very bright. And over there, I was like, someone could slip and fall here. It's dark. You know? And the stairs were full of blood.
Why?
Well, sometimes you make hospitals and then you start thinking it's a beautiful hospital, but there shouldn't be any stairs.
Why?
There shouldn't be stairs because some of the people that go to the hospital cannot walk.
Wheelchair thingy.
A wheelchair ramp, that would be a way to go around it. I think wheelchair ramps, when was the first one built? In modern times. You know, they might...
There's one at what's it called? Universal. The entrance to go to a bunch of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, there's Panda Express in Universal and the entrance.
Mm-hmm. Let's do another one.
Bye.